So one of the contenders of the DNC, as we showed how horrendous and empty and vapid and just full of sound bites, dangling a carrot in front of people's noses, how it's really just empty gestures because they're not really going to do anything and just filled with party insiders and elitists and people that don't want any real changes. They're just there for show and just to boost their own popularity. One of the people in attendance is Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey, who supported the Obamas back in the day, is deeply inside the Democratic Party. Um, Made this statement at the convention. I think this was on Tuesday or Wednesday night. Um, when she again tried to personify herself in this rags to riches story. I get that, Oprah back in the day may have experienced a lot of hardship, a lot of people back in the day. It was that time. It was that time period where people had that hardship. People, there was sexism, there was racism back in the day. But to use that in 2024 when people can't afford their basic necessities like food or shelter and try to amplify that as a meaning of I give a damn about you, it's just counterintuitive. It's just insane. It's just insane because all you're doing is personifying your, wokeism to align yourself to a party that doesn't give a damn about working class people to begin with. And here's Oprah Winfrey, um, again, trying to do this rags to riches story and how, I feel like I'm a visionary for voting this party that doesn't have any fundamental policies for working class people. And she's a multi-billionaire. She, had her talk show for many years. She's very highly influential in the entertainment industry. I mean, she has her own network, for God's sakes. She has companies worldwide. Like this is a vastly wealthy woman. And for her to go on stage and try to convince working class people to slide into this party that doesn't give a damn, it's just it really just it's gut wrenching. It really is just detrimental and just horrifying to sit here and to watch people sink down to this level. Listen to this.
I've lived in Mississippi, in Tennessee, in Wisconsin, Maryland, Indiana, Florida, Hawaii, Colorado, California, and sweet home Chicago, Illinois. I've seen racism.
I do have to say, she does look really fantastic there. She looks better there in this speech than than when she was doing her talk show like 10 years ago. I like she really looks beautiful. It wow. Talk about someone that's glowing up further and further. Um as far as that speech goes, like, yes, she's traveled around her family, Mississippi to Colorado to California and stuff. Again, is that going to resonate to someone that's barely trying to put a roof over their head? Is that going to resonate to the homeless population that is trying to hold down a box or a tent that they're living in? Like, this is just what's frustrating about this. Like, we always accuse the Republicans of being, oh, the party for the business class. Oh, it's just full of wealthy billionaires that don't give a damn. Well, you know what? It's the same side of the it's the different side of the same coin. The Democrats are no different. The whole political structure is founded and based so deeply within the business interests that they've completely lost touch with actually interacting with working class values and working class initiatives. So now she's going to go on to just talk about sexism and racism because why not? You're in the Democratic establishment. Of course, you're going to go with the greatest hits.
And sexism and income inequality and division. I've not only seen it, At times, I've been on the receiving end of it. We are not so different from our neighbors. When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted.
No, but we do ask if they're vaccinated. I'm sorry. That was I stole that little tidbit from Jimmy Dore. I don't know if you ever seen uh his one stand-up comedy show that he's put onto his website. It's actually really hilarious. You know, a firefighter shows up to your house is on fire. Are they going to check to see if you're vaccinated? Are they going to check to make sure you're okay with LGBTQ issues? Are they going to check to make sure you're okay with tampons in boys' bathrooms? It literally is amazing that we're at a time where trying to be the most anti-racist has segregated more people. That's the fascination of this world. We're at a time where trying not to be racist all the time is actually making us more racist. It's actually making us more segregated. That's how I feel with all this LGBTQ or Black History Month and the Juneteenth and all this stuff. Like, it doesn't actually improve anything. You're actually you're segregating more people by dividing people and putting them in their different spotlights. Like, why are we just not confirming people as people? I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care what gender you think you want to be. I don't care about that. You're a person. I'm a person. Let's get together and get shit done. Like, let's stop this chaoticness. Let's stop this.
No, we just try to do the best we can to save them. We're going to be teaching our daughters and sons about how this child of an Indian mother and a Jamaican father, two idealistic, energetic immigrants, this child.
So I'm guessing that's supposed to be the soundbite towards, attacking Trump. Like, oh, she's from two immigrants. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Funny they don't mention that Kamala Harris's father is a Marxist from Jamaica who actually has some really interesting policies that maybe Kamala Harris should look towards that. But Kamala Harris has a strained relationship towards her father. Doesn't even get mentioned. And yet somehow, and this is how screwed up the media system is that they want to say that Kamala Harris is the commie Marxist, is the Leninist that's going to come from the Democratic Party, and they're going to push their socialist agenda to give everybody health care. That's where Trump is going right now. And I just want to say how stupid that rhetoric was then and how stupid it is now. Because if you're trying to say that in 2024 by repeating the garbage that our grandparents heard during the red bait years, how like the Soviets are going to take over, how there's Russian spies looking around everywhere, that's not going to get you anywhere. That's just you painting this fable as reality. You are using fiction to scare people into voting for you. The thing that's actually going to lead campaigns and it's actually going to get somewhere is if you promise things like fixing the economy, ending the wars, things that actually matter to working class people. Look at policies. Stop doing this red bait scare fear tactic to vote in people. Like this, that's all we are doing right now. It's just fearing people. Well, if you don't go this way, then you're going that way. If you go that way, this is what you're going to get. If you don't go this way, like, and none of these parties, not the Democrats or Republicans, Trump or Kamala, is really focusing on key issues that affect everybody. And that's how they're losing so much touch.
Grew up to become the 47th president of the United States.
as the best of America. What is she going to do? I don't know, but it's the best for America. This is all they have. This is all they have. And, I respect Oprah for being a good broadcaster, because when she had her, talk show, she was fairly good at that job. And I get that. I get where, her success came from. At the same time, though, there's a point in your life when you become way too over the top. You become way far up in the pedestal that you're pretty much in the clouds and you don't see what's happening on the ground. And this is where I feel with a lot of these celebrities. They may feel like they have good intentions to say, hey, I want a woman president. I want, justice reform. I want, to help working class people. But you're not doing it because you don't know a damn thing about working class issues. You don't care about it because you never had to experience in recent times of working class problems. You don't know the struggles of everyday families, of everyday Americans that are walking across the nation. I'm pretty sure when they came to this convention and go to their hotels and go to the United Center, they didn't pass by all the tent cities that are in Chicago. I'm sure they probably didn't show, hey, look at the homeless, the lineup for soup kitchens. Hey, look at the lineup for food banks. Hey, look at all the abandoned properties that people had to leave and have their homes destroyed because they can't afford shelter. They didn't pass through that. I'm sure they came up in their limousines going from the hotel, the penthouse, to this convention and back. And that it's just so painful to watch this. So painful. And I just want to show how Oprah, as talented as she is not really fundamentally there for the people. She is way up in the pedestal. And here's just some examples of it. The fact that, she's talking about, racism and sexism in this day and age when not talking about issues, because she doesn't need policy changes. Look at this. Inside Oprah's breathtaking property portfolio, valued at over 500 million. I'm assuming that's pounds. The little F sign. I think that's pounds for British currency. The billionaire media magnate is one of the most powerful women in the world and has an impressive property portfolio to prove it. So 500 million pounds. I'm not sure what conversion of that is, but the fact that she's at the convention trying to sound like a working class Jane and had to grow up from, the rags to riches while this is happening, while you have a property portfolio. Like, let alone the fact that people don't even have property. You have a portfolio of property, meaning you have endless amount of money to buy properties. That's plural. And here's also this from Business Insider. Oprah Winfrey, who owns 1,000 acres of land in Maui, angers fans of their fundraiser after the wildfires. Here's a rundown of her history with Hawaii. And the other thing to this story that it's not in this headline, but there was something else too, is that when she originally bought that land, there was a counter strike. There was a counter protest to the natives of Maui, the residents, the working class residents in Maui, that fundamentally got screwed over because Oprah Winfrey came in, bought their property, said she wanted to expand it, and expanded into their property, expand into their homes. So they had to leave their homes so that Oprah Winfrey can buy them out and then demolish them. So how great of a woman she is for the working class person, that she's going to kick you out of your home, buy up your territory, get have her, real estate goons screw those people over, because I'm sure they're not, didn't get a huge payout and an apology from Oprah that I had to extend my property. And she was able to do this to buy 1,000 acres of land. Here's also this. As Business Insider previously reported, Winfrey owns an estate in Montecito, California, which she bought for $52 million in 2001. So imagine what that price is now. Imagine what the price is now, adjusting for all the inflation. $52 million in 2001. And I remember seeing that because when California had those mudslides and they were showing it on television, what did the media always point it out? They always pointed out how it was going to affect Oprah's house, how it was going to affect Ellen DeGeneres' house, how it was going to affect Meghan and Harry's house, because it was right down the street from Oprah. That's when they, used to hang out to do the interviews. They never cared about anyone else's homes, but oh my God, the celebrities that could afford to have these massive upgrades to almost prepare for these horrible disasters. Oh my God, what's going to happen with them? As well as a duplex in Chicago, a home in Antigua, a ski chalet in Telluride, Colorado, and more. Who the hell buys an entire ski chalet? Also, what the hell is a chalet? That's how you know I'm not a richest story. That's how you know I'm deeply in poverty. I don't know what a chalet is. Is that the same as like a resort, a lodge? Who the hell buys an entire ski lodge? God, is it too much for rich people to use Airbnb? Is it too much for them to just go to these resorts as a regular guest? Like, is it too much for them? Too much of a sacrifice? It's like people that complain about climate change and then they have their own private jets. Is it too much for them to give up their private jets and ride business class? Holy crap. That would actually make you one of us, and we actually have maybe more respect for you. But no, you're going to bitch about us having gas-powered lawnmowers and how we need to all drive electric vehicles that are going to crap out at any point so that you can continue flying your private jet. But her biggest real estate investment, okay, I got to read this. But her biggest real estate investments in terms of acreage have been in Hawaii. She owns around 1,000 acres across 2 towns. 2 towns in Maui, Hana, and Kailua. Local news outlets KITV4 and Maui News reported. Wow. Wow. So now you understand why she doesn't fundamentally have anything. She's not going to criticize the Democratic establishment. She's not going to fundamentally do anything politically except call out racism, sexism, all the same platitudes that every other person has already addressed. And maybe that was at the time she was dealing with that, but here we are in 2024, and enough is enough. And here's to remind people of a Black man who was able to point this out so perfectly in a 60 Minutes interview. I think this was back in like 2007, 6 or 7. Here's Morgan Freeman and what his thoughts on the whole sexism, racism, trying to point all this out at a political establishment. And this is just so perfect of what he said here. Listen to this.
Oh, come on. What do you do with yours? What?
Hold on.
Black History Month you find ridiculous. Why? You're going to relegate my history to a month? Oh, come on. What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? Well, come on. Well, I'm Jewish. Okay. Which month is Jewish History Month? There isn't one. Oh. Why not? either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history. How are we going to get rid of racism and stop talking about it? I'm going to stop calling you a white man. And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman. Black History Month.
What can I say? That's perfectly well said. And this is where, and I restate this, that anytime they mention about these issues, this is where, you know, all this identity politics, anything with the trans issues or LGBTQ or racism or sexism or misogyny, any of this stuff, I feel like the more that we try to hammer as much out of this, the more that we try to fire this up as much as possible into everyday conversation, we're segregating more people. Because everything has now become separate groups. Like it seems like, you know, with the LGBTQ, for example, we have to segregate people into their separate little compartments of the same umbrella term. Like, and the fact that umbrella term is continuing to grow, it's no longer LGBTQ, it's now IA plus 250 Batman symbol. Like, when is it going to become the point when we just accept people? When is it going to come to the point where none of us really care about who you sleep with? When is it going to come to the point where I'm not judging people by their skin color? I thought that was the whole Martin Luther King, Malcolm X dream. I thought that was the whole process of this. I thought that was the whole, you know, notion of the civil rights, that we stop judging people. We stop putting them into their boxes, putting them into their corners. Stop labeling people and just accept people as who they are. And Morgan Freeman says it best. I'm going to acknowledge you as Mike Wallace. You're going to acknowledge me as Morgan Freeman. You're not going to say a black man. You're not going to throw me into a box. You're not going to label me for that. You're just going to acknowledge me as who I am. And the fact that the Democratic Party can't even do that, because then they don't have anything to run on. And their whole ideal, the whole problem with all this is all this does is it's almost like rebranding the separating society. It's rebranding segregation. The more we do this. So this is where I get, like, you know, this is where I go at Oprah and say, why are you doing this in 2024 again? Like, have we not understood? Have we not learned from all the years of the massive efforts of trying to stop racism, that the more you try and do that, the more you try to do these horrific policies to try to, you know, segregate people and try to put them in different spotlights than just everybody else, it's actually reversing the moment, the whole rhetoric behind civil rights leaders and activists. Like, Morgan Freeman said, we don't need Black History Month. Black History Month is American history. And isn't it kind of ironic that we care so much about racism and so much about, you know, stopping Black hatred, but yet we put their entire history into the shortest month of the year? Is that kind of interesting? Is it also kind of interesting that, hey, we're not stopping mass incarceration? Hey, we're not stopping the war on drugs that systematically go after Black and brown people in poor neighborhoods? We're not doing anything to lift their neighborhoods out of poverty, but we'll give you Juneteenth. Because slavery is okay as long as it's private prisons. you know, we're not actually going to do anything to stop that, but it's okay because it's in the private prison industry. So all we have to do now is mass incarcerate many more people, and we can still live in the Jim Crow era. So, and that's brought to you by Joe Biden. That's brought to you by Bill Clinton. That's brought to you by the Democratic Party. Which the whole message of this, the moral of the story is the Democratic Party is a vapid, empty, pointless, worthless political party that pretends to care about you when really they are stabbing you multiple times and leaving you bloody in the corner. Because they are exactly what they accused the Republicans of. They are two of the same pea pod. They're two sides of the same coin, and nothing is going to fundamentally change. No matter who you get on stage, nothing is going to fundamentally change, and it's just all a vapid disaster for everybody in the country, and even people that were at the convention, but they just don't know it because they are sheep. Listening to the talking points and just hearing what they want to hear, drinking down that blue Kool-Aid, thinking that Blue Who is going to save them out of this madness, even though it's the same rhetoric you hear every single time, every single election cycle, and nothing fundamentally changes.